Hey guys, it's John from Marco Learning. In this video, I'm going to explain the 5 biggest mistakes people make on the Common App personal statement and how to avoid them. Mistake number 1 is that people have too many cooks in the kitchen. They start writing their personal statement with 7 people whispering in their ear. And this is a huge mistake because this is your personal statement. It's not someone else's. So instead of having your English teacher and your grandma and your best friend and someone else all in the room with you revising the essay right out of the gates, focus on working with one person. Maybe your English teacher is doing a project in class and can mentor you through the first phase. Maybe it's your college admissions counselor at your school or a parent. Start with one person guiding you through the process or work entirely on your own. This will give you a good foundation to have a personal statement in good shape before you have too many people giving you conflicting advice. Mistake number 2 is that people write a resume essay. They take their activities list and they convert it into a personal statement. But of course, the college admissions officers already have your activities list. They have a description of you from your teachers about how well you perform in the classroom. They have a lot of information about what kind of student you will be. They want to know in the personal statement what kind of person you will be. So keep the personal statement personal, not professional. And this is a mistake that some advisors make. They guide young 17-year-old students to writing professional essays and resumes instead of talking about themselves personally. It's really hard to talk about your personal life. It's hard to open up, but that's what you have to do. Find something you want to talk about and talk about it. Don't just try to impress people with all your credentials. Mistake number 3 is that people get too personal. Now, I just said you shouldn't get too professional. This is a personal statement, but you need to be careful about what kind of information about your personal life you're willing to share. What should remain private and what should you open up about? What is oversharing and what does that look like on a Common App essay? And so my advice to you is think about how your story will look to multiple readers, people who you're never going to meet in person probably, but who are going to learn something about your personal life. You've only got 650 words. So sometimes when you're sharing a story, it can be too big of a story to fit into 650 words. Find the right story about yourself, about who you are and what you care about and what you're going to bring to the college campus that you're applying to, and not so much just the saddest thing you've ever thought of or oversharing on the statement. Find the story you want to tell that you want to tell publicly. Mistake number 4, and this is one of the most common ones, is that you write a generic essay, an essay that anyone else can write. So as you're brainstorming ideas for your personal statement, think about the stories you're selecting. Is it a story that a million other people could write about? Somebody told you couldn't sing, but then you stood up at the talent show and you sang and you were great and now you believe in yourself. A story about being down in the 4th quarter of a game and coming back to win and learning about the importance of teamwork. You spent a week volunteering somewhere and you learned about the importance of helping others. Those are the kinds of essays that everyone else writes. So as you're drafting those ideas, think about moving beyond those into the story that only you can tell. And you can start with the generic stories. Take the bottom of the 4th quarter story. Maybe there's something really interesting that happened, that everyone on the team believed in the team, but you didn't, and you were giving up. And then you converted to really caring about the team at the end. Or maybe your story about not being able to sing very well dealt with a medical disability, or something that tells me about you that's just different from the story I've heard 1,000 times before. Common themes for these, again, include volunteering, sports, learning about the value of helping others, showing off some part of your resume, or the saddest story you can think of. Select a story or a moment or a value that is really important to you and build it up from there. And give yourself the time of working through multiple drafts to find a really special version of that. The 5th and final mistake my students make is that they think that they can only write 1 or 2 drafts of the personal statement. You need to go through multiple drafts. A lot of my students write between 8 and 12 drafts of the personal statement. And let me tell you why that's important. You work on a draft, the 1st or 2nd draft, they're pretty good. Somebody checks it for typos. You're on the 3rd draft and only 2 people have read that essay besides you. And then you start showing it to more people and they start finding new problems. They get offended by your description of a certain group of people in paragraph 2. They get confused by the end of the essay about what it's about. It feels scattered. It feels all over the place. These are very common moments. But if you're only in draft 2 or 3, you probably haven't solved them all. So here's my advice to you. Start early on the Common App personal statement. Work with 1 or 2 mentors in the early parts of that process. As you guys get to draft 3 or 4, start showing it to more people. Start thinking, as those people read these essays, what are they learning about you? How can you incorporate their feedback? You're not going to be able to incorporate everyone's feedback, but this process will refine your essay and help you really think through the implications of what you're doing. And don't worry about all the pages and words you're throwing away. You might be able to use some of those paragraphs and ideas in some of the supplements or shorter essays on the Common App. So take your time, invest the time in finding a story you're passionate about, and work with the people around you to tell that story on your Common application. If you want to write a great Common App essay, click on the link in the description to download our free guide to the personal statement. It'll give you everything you need to get started on writing a great essay.